couple of great tweets going around.
Go on.
Just it just always astounds me how much this country hates workers, or the commentariat hates workers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this earlier, and shall I talk about the terms of the strike first?
Yeah.
Okay, so
The RMT strike and TFL.
So I am normally a reform correspondent. Today I'll be RMT correspondent. They're striking over pay and conditions, and what they're arguing, which I think that the headline or the point that has grabbed the most headlines is this 32-hour week that they want. Now, it's not a definite 32-hour week. They want progress towards a 32-hour week. And the problem is, you might say, well, look, I have to work 37 and a half hours a week. Yes, you do at your 9 to 5. A lot of you will be able to work that partly from home. You have a much more cushy job if you are an office worker. You do. I'm sorry, you do. And
But it'll also be finished at 5 o'clock in the evening.
Absolutely. And what I was
and
gonna,
no weekends.
Exactly. And what I was going to say about these tube workers is that they are on their shift pattern changes week to week. So they'll be doing very, very late nights, very, very early mornings. It's not very good for you if you have either a family life. I mean, no chance of it if you're, in at 10 p.m., up at 5 a.m., the next, a couple of days later. But also, it's just not good for you bodily.
Yeah.
It's bad for your circadian rhythm. Thank you. I'm a bit of a health influencer now. And what they're arguing is that they don't feel they have the capacity to do the job adequately. They don't feel that they can do the job properly within the current constraints of the shift pattern. Now, obviously, the shift pattern exists because TfL wants to save a bit of cash, right? They're always under they're under real constraints because Sadiq Khan has kept the fares low. It's very, very cheap to get on the tube. There are going to be people in the comments shouting, "No, it's not." It is relative to other parts of the country. Maybe not relative to other parts of the world, but relative to other parts of the country, it is very, very cheap to get onto the
He's keeping them frozen until when?
Oh, he's kept them frozen year after year, this guy.
Yeah. I swear it's like a yearly news item, isn't it? That TfL fares are going to be frozen for another year.
Yes. The arguments are, toward TfL about pay. Everyone hates talking about how much tube drivers get paid. I saw a couple of tweets this morning about, oh, it's so frustrating. Some of them are earning £70,000 a year. Listen, pal. Listen. The tube is a cylinder of metal that shoots at 40 miles an hour underground, okay? Really deep underground. I would pay those people whatever they want because if I'm on a tube with 1,000 people at peak time, which is what it typically is, sometimes it's more when you're all little sardines all squished together, I'd like someone with some kind of know-how at the front.
It's nice to know that it's not going to smash into the one ahead of it, isn't it?
Yeah. Look, the thing that I think people have to realize about public sector workers is that the only way that you can guarantee a pay rise in public sector roles is to go on strike. When you're in a private, you work in a corporation and you're in a private business, you can go to your manager, you can say, I would like a bit more money. If you're not within the bands or you've exceeded your bands or you're looking for an entire pay increase, you do need to go to the governing body in order to achieve that pay rise. And this is the way that you do it. And unfortunately, we do have really tight-pursed people in government. So while everything has got more expensive over the last few years, costs have gone up and everything is just costing a little bit more. They've decided, instead of being sensible and practical and saying, hey, we're going to give you a proper pay review, we are going to go by this sort of arbitrary assessment that is below inflation in a lot of cases. And we're going to deal with the inevitable fallout, which will be strikes in the long run. And it costs the taxpayer more money in the long run. If these people actually just sat around and solved the problem at source, you wouldn't have the risk of businesses losing out of £230 million worth of commerce over this week. Do you know what I mean? But the blame always gets put on the workers. It just pisses me off, man.
It's interesting, isn't it, that a public body like TfL has the same kind of push and pull with its staff and with the unions that operate within it as companies like Set Western Rail or Avanti or places like this, where the staff are having to have disputes with the company to get some semblance of a survival wage or some semblance of a livable wage or some semblance of a social life, from working for a company that's run by the state. It has a feeling of like Thames Water about it.
Well, it's
Where
semi-privatized.
sure, but
say.
not just that. Not just that. It's the part of Thames Water where I think it's fair to say that it doesn't operate the way it should as a public water provider.
It's a very bold take, isn't it?
But yet there is still this kind of this tension between worker, public, company, and then the state as well. Like ministers are at fault for things like Thames Water not being in public ownership or how that will ever be renationalized. But there's a lot of autonomy that the state has over things like TfL and pay and reviews and working patterns that it can force TfL to negotiate with unions and have a better outcome for the workers and thus have a better outcome for the public and thus have a better outcome for the economy. But they never proactively do that. It's always a breaking point has to be reached before any sort of negotiation comes. You know, it shouldn't
Someone has
be.
to suffer before there's negotiation.
Yeah, it
It's
shouldn't
just
be Eddie
nuts.
Dempsey's job to always be on the news on a picket line.
No.
You know,
Calling freelancers, small and mid-sized business owners. Tide's Instant Saver account offers up to 4% AER variable, flexible access, and competitive returns.
Unlike other options on the market, you won't need to hold your money with Tide for a fixed period. That means you'll have instant access and free withdrawals whenever you need it.
You can get started today with just £1, making it easy to start growing your business savings.
Want to know what you'll earn? Tide's clever calculator gives you a clear picture up front.
Our audience will receive £100 cash back when you deposit £5,000 within the first 30 days of opening your Tide Instant Saver account.
Use code JOE, that's JOE, JOE. New members receive an annual equivalent rate of up to 4% AER variable, free for 6 months. For the full offer, visit tide.co/Joe. T's and C's apply.
The nuts thing is, though, is that it's in TfL's gift to be fully nationalised, but it has it's semi-privatised because it has private operators who work within the TfL network, right? So you'll have like Arriva, like the bus operators. They'll do Go Ahead. I think that they're some of the buses as well.
I think Deutsche Bahn have some of the overground as well.
Well, of course they would.
Yeah.
They're everywhere, them, aren't they?
Yeah.
They love it. And then you've got the issue of rolling stock as well. So, you know, it's in the gift to bring that entire thing into public ownership because look, I'm going to give you a little economics lesson. If you outsource,
Give it to me.
if you outsource your bus operations to a private company, it is cheaper in the short term, right? Because you don't have to buy the entire fleet. You don't have to, have direct contracts with all of the workers, the sort of servicing.
You also get an immediate windfall from the contract.
You absolutely do, Sean. But in the long term, you're paying a private company a profit margin. And that profit margin would be better invested back into what you own.
Well, it is how the public systems operate in Europe, like
fucking European.
well, no, you've got I think it's Arriva. I'm willing to be corrected, but there's one of the operators of TfL buses that is part of the Dutch publicly owned public transport network. And as I said already, Deutsche Bahn is another one. Avanti, very obvious example. Avanti is an Italian word. Trenitalia owns the Avanti West Coast line.
Okay, Duolingo.
All of these things exist as external projects for the publicly owned systems in those European countries to keep fares low in those countries. The fares, whether it's a train fare, a bus fare, or a metro fare in the UK, is always being used to subsidize somebody in France, Italy, Germany, Netherlands to keep their fares low. Like, in fact, it costs hundreds and hundreds of pounds to go from one end of this country to the other, but you can get it for an hour's wage in another country, and it's on time, it's clean. You might get a little glass of wine on one of them if you're lucky. It's
A little glass of vino.
yeah, you might do. You might do
Well,
if you're so
I've
inclined.
I've heard rumours about a little slice of cheese.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I have
yeah. I'm
heard
sure they
about
would.
that.
I'm sure they would if you asked.
Yeah,
If you asked in Italian or German or Dutch.
yeah.
Um,
He'd be happy to give. He'd go, thank you. This is courtesy of the English taxpayer.
yeah.
Actually would.
paid for this. See this? I paid for this through my tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look how beautiful and wonderful these trains are.
Mm.
Mm.
Some of them are double deckers, you know.
I get on the trains in Italy and I say, oh, one of ours. So the anger around the pay is that TfL are posting surpluses every year, annual surpluses. So last year they posted over £166 million in surplus. And what the workers are arguing is we would quite like to see some of that. The knock-on costs for the strike are absolutely extraordinary. When I tell you this, so this is normally the moment, right, when a business executive will get onto the radio and they'll say this fact as it or this assessment, this assumption. What's the word I'm looking for?
It's an assessment.
Yeah.
Of the
So they'll
situation.
point to this assessment as the reason why the workers are really, really selfish. But let's talk about it in a different vein. So £230 million, this is going to cost the London economy, this tube strike, in part because there was meant to be a Coldplay show and two Coldplay shows, and they are now cancelled. They can't get the event license because there isn't a tube going there now. By the way, very funny. Very funny indeed.
Well played, Eddie. Well played, Eddie. Specifically tried to cancel two Coldplay shows.
That's a man who really cares about London. A business owner will tell you like how outrageous and despicable it is. Actually, let's look at it on the flip side. The last time that there was a strike, Sadiq Khan intervened, right? And he was criticised for doing so by big government because they said, you've actually now botched our negotiation process with the RMT. And what Sadiq Khan's point was, hey, I need to keep London moving. Like, I can't have a strike that disrupts the whole city like this.
Bunged them a couple of million.
He did bung him a couple of million. And it resolved the issue at the time. I think at the time, I will happily I'll stand corrected on this, but I think at the time it may have been about station staff.
Yes.
If it was about station staff, by the way, there absolutely should be staff at every single station. And you are absolutely insane if you think that an area that will see probably the movement of like 100,000 people in an hour shouldn't have a member of staff there.
Yeah.
You are insane.
Yeah.
Thanks to Tide and their instant savings account for sponsoring this week's podcast.
New members receive an annual equivalent rate of up to 4% AER variable.
Our audience will receive £100 cash back when you deposit £5,000 within the first 30 days of opening your Tide Instant Saver account.
Use code JOE. For the full offer, visit tide.co/Joe. T's and C's apply.